It's hard to vibe high when you're anxious about the future. In this episode, we'll discuss ways to kick anxiety to the curb for good. This is important information, so stick around. Welcome to Vibing High with Mojoe Mike, where we talk about all kinds of cool stuff to help you improve your vibration level in a world that is becoming increasingly difficult to vibe high in each and every day. My name is Mike Garrett, aka Mojoe Mike. I'm a life mastery expert and curator over there at Spin Positive, spinpositive.com. I'm also author of the Spin Positive Master Series, a 6-volume book series leading you to your highest and best experience, what I call your zenith being. That is when you are vibing as high as you can possibly vibe. And if that sounds good to you, pick up your copy of Volume 1 of the Spin Positive Master Series today and begin your self-help revolution for life mastery with the Spin Positive Master Series. Get your copy today at spinpositive.com. Thanks for being here. I hope you are vibing as high as you can possibly vibe and you're just here for maintenance purposes. But if that's not the case, if something's bugging you, if something's dragging you down, stick around. We'll get you figured out. Over time, we will cover everything that affects our vibration level as time goes on. Of course, we can't cover everything all at once. We're going to talk about something new every episode, so keep coming back. Okay, this episode, we're going to talk about anxiety. Oh boy, that's a biggie. Anxiety is an absolutely devastating force in the lives of a lot of people. It was for me. I'll talk about that in just a minute. I'll tell you my story with anxiety. Anxiety is kind of making a comeback in my realm right now. There's been a huge uptick in people asking me for help with anxiety. Ever since the election back in November, and I can't really blame them. There's some anxious people out there, rightfully so, without a doubt. There's going to be some marginalized communities that are going to be targeted in this next administration, and these people are anxious. I get it. So I've been trying to help as many as I can get through this anxious time in our history. So if you came to me saying, hey, Mike, I'm struggling with anxiety, I need some help, what you're going to leave with is my 10-step battle plan to kick the shit out of anxiety. That's what you're going to leave with. So I figured the best thing for me to do would just be to share that here in a video through the podcast so it's available to everybody. If you are struggling with anxiety, follow these 10 steps and they will definitely make a difference. They will definitely help you get a handle on the anxiety that is affecting your vibration level. I'd be lying if I didn't admit that my anxiety's even been up a little bit since this election, and since it now looks like Project 2025 is going to become a reality. There's no doubt about it that I've actually experienced a little bit of anxiety myself, and I've had to incorporate my 10-step battle plan. I have had a pretty good handle on anxiety over these last 10 years or so, but man, I'll tell you, even I've had some trouble. Because again, there's no doubt there's going to be some marginalized groups. The LGBT community, of course, trans people are going to be targeted, I'm sure, and immigrants and all that. I worry for their future. I'm anxious for their future. There are people that I care about very deeply in those groups. I worry on their behalf a little bit. And then let's not sugarcoat the fact that I lead people to their awakening. And woke people, woke culture is public enemy number one, even though it hasn't publicly been stated yet. It will be public enemy number one to the next administration, will be those who have awakened to the realities of society and are working hard to correct them. And certainly people who are leading others to experience their awakening. Yeah, I know. I'm probably going to end up in a camp at some point. That's okay. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing out of fear, though, that's for sure. And I've got powerful friends on my side too, so I keep that in mind every day. And you've got powerful friends on your side too, so we're going to talk about how to incorporate those into our lives here in just a minute to help us with their anxiety. And if I can help you overcome anxiety, even a little bit, that is a big boost to humanity's collective vibration level. What a boost that would be. Anxious energy is chaotic negative energy. We don't want anxious energy out there, so the less anxious energy there is, the better off we all are. In this episode, I'm going to share my 10-step battle plan to overcome anxiety. A lot of what I'm going to share comes directly from the core Enlightenment, and a lot of what I'm going to share are the same steps that I used to overcome anxiety. There was a time in my life when Anxiety was a big part of my experience. I was riddled with anxiety my entire life prior to my revolution with the core enlightenment of spin positive. I was an anxious wreck. I came out of the womb anxious. I'm not exaggerating. I came out of the womb anxious. Some of my earliest memories as a child are memories of being scared or anxious about something. It's definitely, over the course of my life, been one of my biggest emotional discomforts and one of the things that I struggled with the most coming up prior to my revolution, because it is debilitating. It is a debilitating condition. It can totally take over your life. It did mine. Yeah, some of my first earliest memories are fears and anxieties. In fact, as you go through your revolution with the core enlightenment, when we get to volume 3, a big part of that is overcoming our traumas and processing the things that occurred in our lives that, we view as negative or traumatic experiences. We got to go back through those and we got to process those. And that's something that I lead you through, and the universe will help lead you through with volume 3. And as you go through that, the universe will kind of serve up these memories and these traumas for you to process. And one of the very first things that served up to me, and I actually remember this is one of my first memories, was me as a baby in a crib. I was in the crib. One of the things we had in my house coming up was we had this intercom system, and in every room there was a little speaker on the wall. And when it would be time for my bedtime, my mom would put on music and it would come through the little speaker on the wall. I guess she would just put on whatever was on AM radio at the time. I would think that she would try to pipe in some peaceful sleeping music, but back then I guess it was just whatever was on AM radio at the time went in there. Yeah, one of my first memories was me as a baby, standing up in my crib, holding on to the rail of the crib, staring at the speaker while it played the song 16 Tons by Tennessee Ernie Ford. And I just remember being afraid of whoever was in that wall, and their voice was so scary. 16 tons, and what do you get? I just thought some kind of monster was in there singing this song. I was blown away to find out that was one of my first traumas. Like, that hit me enough to be a trauma. That traumatized me as a baby. Now, I was probably an anxious wreck before that even, because my anxiety stemmed from some physical issues. We'll talk about that a little bit later and how those contribute, that were with me since birth. So that's where my anxiety stemmed from. So I probably already had it. It probably wasn't the start of my anxiety, but one of my first memories was this anxious fear of whoever was in the wall behind that speaker, singing through that speaker, was going to get me when I fell asleep and I couldn't go to sleep. And then I struggled at nighttime for a long time. In fact, I had such a hard time sleeping at night. I would be so anxious sleeping at nighttime. I'd be so afraid of what I had to do the next day, or I'd be, and if it wasn't that, it'd be the monsters under my bed, or the monsters that were going to get me outside or something. It'd be some anxious fear every night. I had such a problem with that I had to use a pacifier to sleep until I was almost 8 years old. And that is actually the origin of my world famous underbite. There, the story's out. That's how it came about. People have always wondered, and I said I would tell you someday, and that's what happened. I was such an anxious wreck as a child that I could not sleep without a pacifier, even though the doctors and the dentists and everybody were telling me and my mom, hey, look, you're fucking your shit up. I couldn't give it up. And it fucked my teeth up. And I only gave it up when I learned how to cope using food. Technically, I guess my pacifier was my first addiction, and I just merely transferred addictions over to food and learned how to quash my anxiety with food. I was able to give the pacifier up. Anyway, it's something I've struggled with my entire life, and I was really surprised to learn that one of my earliest memories, my earliest traumas, was the song 16 Tons. Like, it frazzled my wiring in some way that I had to go through that, and the universe served that up to me as I went through these experiences. We'll talk about those in volume 3. And I had to process that. And once I did, whatever, and when we have traumatic memories in our subconscious, they actually cause us to create a little dark mojo. It's a whole thing. We talk about that in volume 1, and we talk about it more in volume 3 also. So we have to get rid of those to boost our vibration level. Once we process those traumas, we don't lose those memories, because there's lessons to be gleaned from every experience. We don't want to lose the memory of the experience. But we want to make it so the memory is not harmful to us. So the universe walks us through the steps using our own spiritual power to change the charge of that memory from negative to positive. Now you can look back on that event. It's not traumatic anymore. It doesn't cause you any sort of negative emotional release when you revisit that experience. You now look back on it as a positive. It had to happen. There was a lesson to be learned there. It completely flips the script. And it changes the landscape of your subconscious, especially if you're riddled with a bunch of traumas. And a lot of us are. It's a traumatic life we live. And it doesn't take a whole lot to be traumatic for us. As we've learned through this episode, a stupid song was traumatic enough for me to cause me issues in my psychological wiring, even as a baby. And I had to work through that. And that's what the universe will do with you through Volume 3. It'll lead you through those steps. It's the only way to freedom through that. You know, nobody else can do it. It's something only you can do with the help of your higher power. It has to help you along. Of course, I'm a firm believer in that now because I was riddled with traumas, and I had a lot to work through. I really mastered that process, so I'll be able to lead you through it when you get there. Yeah, but anxiety was just always a part of my life, always. Almost every memory that I can remember, even coming up prior to my revolution, would have some element of anxiety in there somewhere. And I always knew that I suffered from anxiety more so than my peers because when we would be out doing fun stuff, I would always be the one worried about something going wrong or waiting for something going wrong. I don't know if you've ever heard of a phenomenon called the fuckening. I was always the guy waiting for the fuckening. And if you don't know what that is, that's when things are going really good. But in your life, things don't go good for long. Something comes along to mess up the good time and to take the good time away. That's the fuckening. Something comes along to fuck up the good time for you. And that's generally what would happen in my life. And so I was always the one waiting for the fuckening in my peer group while everybody else was having a good time at the concert, and they had completely forgotten everything because that's why we do these fun experiences so we can, take a break from our crazy lives and shit. Not me, man. I brought that shit with me, and we'd sit and process all that and wait for the fuckening while everybody else is having a great time. And that was my life. It colored everything I did. I hated anxiety. I hated it. Probably one of the biggest things I had to deal with in my life was anxiety all the time. And that's just regular anxiety. Let's not talk about social anxiety. That's a horse of a whole different color. Yeah, when I talk about anxiety coloring my life, I use one very specific relationship. When I was growing up, I had this dog named Bo, and he was an awesome dog. We had a great time together. He was my best friend. We did everything together. But whenever we were hanging out, I would always have to think about him dying someday. Like, I know I'm going to outlive this dog. And so that's all I could ever think about when we would be out hanging out. It was like I would be pre-sad for the day he was going to die. And I would worry about, how is my dog going to die? What's it going to be? Is he going to get old and decrepit? Is he going to be crippled? And is he going to be in pain? And I would just play out these horrible endings to Bo's life over and over again. And it was like, every time we were together, I would have at least one thought of someday he's going to die and I'm going to be sad and it's going to suck and I'm going to cry and what am I going to do and am I going to survive it? It was just ridiculous. Anxiety was just one of those things that snowballed in my life and snowballed and snowballed. And then I experienced my darkest days, which I talk about in Volume 1. It snowballed to the biggest snowball of all, where I became so anxious and so scared that I actually began to experience a condition called agoraphobia. That is where you are so afraid that you can't even leave your house. You are certain that some terrible thing is going to befall you if you walk outside your door. Agoraphobia, it's a thing, and it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, come on, that can't be a real thing. Nobody's that scared of life not to go outside and at least check their mailbox. I may not have believed that was a real thing until I experienced it myself. I would think that that's one of those things people are just making up for attention type things, It's a real thing, man. I was afraid that there were like these creatures right outside my front door, and if I walked outside, they were going to eat me. And then but they were like demon type things, and it was a whole thing. Agoraphobia is prison. It's a mental prison, and it's just where your anxiety has snowballed and snowballed to the point where it has completely overtaken your life. It's completely out of control. And it was during that time when I was experiencing a severe agoraphobia bouts. It wasn't constant, but I would go through these bouts when I was given the first round of core enlightenment. And I was able to start piecing that all together. I was able to use what the universe gave me to overcome everything that was causing my anxiety. It led me down paths that no one else could have led me down to overcome it. And I honestly believe that it showed me the physical things that were causing my anxiety. I think it showed me that in a way that nobody else would have ever connected those dots. And I'm not trying to knock doctors. Doctors are awesome at what they do, but a doctor doesn't know me as well as the universe knows me, or as well as I even really know myself, or can know myself using my conscious and spiritual abilities. The doctor's going to do whatever it thinks is best in my situation. And, that can be a guessing game at first. No fault to the doctor. That's just the nature of things. You try something that works, it might be it might be not. And then if you take the state of modern medicine today, where doctors don't have a whole lot of time to deal with any one patient, the whole corporate fast food, see as many patients as possible mentality has crept into our medical system, healthcare system. So it's not their fault. It's just the way things have evolved in our society. That they can't practice their craft with the same sort of diligence and the same sort of care and attention that they would like to, given the demands of the patient load. And I get that. And I'm not sure the doctors would have ever, or what sort of testing would have been necessary and what sort of processes would have been necessary for them to connect all the dots that the universe connected for me in one simple meditative session. It was like, boom, here's all the physical stuff contributing to your anxiety. Bang, all in one or two meditative sessions. I got it all. And then I just had to work through it and go, okay, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? How do I fix this? And I went down the list, and sure as shit, I followed everything I was supposed to do on that list that the universe gave me. And I totally took control of my anxiety. And today I have full control over it. And it's up to me. If I want to wallow in anxiety, it's up to me. I allow it to happen. And if I ever do feel anxious and I go, what am I doing? Why do I have this feeling? Let me take care of that. And then I take the steps. What we're going to learn today, you can use for the rest of your life. It'll work forever. And so I just put that into play, and I'm good to go. And I'll be honest, ever since this election, I found myself waking up in the middle of the night from a dead sleep in a start, anxious as shit, sweaty. What's going to happen? And I haven't experienced that in some time. Yeah, but so I get it. People are anxious today. It's a high anxiety time. Let's do what we can to put the kibosh on that today. And then if you go through all the steps today and you're still struggling, begin your revolution for life mastery with the Spin Positive Master series, because I'm telling you, we're going to iron all of it out. We're going to take what we learned today a couple of steps further in volume 3. And you'll definitely get your issues ironed out then, if this isn't enough. But unfortunately, I can't just tell you what I'm going to tell you in volume 3 today and let you get on with it, because the Spin Positive Master series is cumulative. You have to accomplish volumes 1 and 2 before you get to volume 3. So that special shit has to stay in the books, but I can give you the broad-based stuff and you can put it into your life. And if your anxiety isn't terribly bad all the time, and it's not something that you are suffering from chronically because it is a spiritual issue first and foremost, then you'll be able to kick the shit out of your anxiety with what I'm going to share with you today. But if there's a spiritual element, you're going to have to use your special spiritual magic, and that's the stuff that I'm releasing in the books. And unfortunately, you got to do all the steps in order. So I can't just jump into volume 3 with that here today. Okay, the universe shared with me right away a couple of very important things about anxiety. And I feel like it's important that I share them with you, because understanding the thing you're fighting goes a long way to having the power to beat it. So you want to understand it. And the first thing that was shown to me is anxiety, first and foremost, is a tool used by Dark Mojo to cause living beings to create more dark mojo. When we are anxious, we are spinning negative. Anxious energy is negative energy, unfortunately. Okay. And like I say, it's hard to vibe high when we're anxious. It's impossible. It's not only hard, it's impossible to vibe high when we're anxious, because the mere act of being anxious causes us to spin negative. It's all a thing. Dark Mojo loves it. Dark Mojo can influence us as living beings. It can. It's like a puppet master pulling our strings. And it can influence us to do things and feel things that we wouldn't normally experience because of that influence. And so if there's a seed of anxiety in us, or any possibility of that seed forming of anxiety, Dark Mojo will pull our strings, and it'll use its special power to create that seed to bloom in us. And it can actually cause anxiety to flare in us, cause anxiety to become worse in us, certainly, at times when it wouldn't be as bad. And it makes it much more difficult to combat because of that influence. So Dark Mojo loves anxiety. That's why our oppressive institutions, our economic systems, our political systems, our systems of organized religions, those are all designed to cause anxiety in us. And there's always going to be elements of those institutions that'll cause us to be anxious and to cause us to worry. Of course, our economic system is a big one. Everybody's always worried about money. We know that. It's stressful. It's probably the leading cause of stress in our modern age is financial shit. So we know that the economic system is oppressive and causes us anxiety. Of course, our government can too. Now look, people are anxious with what the government's going to do. Looks like we're going to lose some of those freedoms in America that we've taken for granted. That's certainly causing us to be anxious. And then religion, one of its big things is guilt/anxiety, causing us to spend negative by feeling anxious about where we're heading more than anything, and being anxious about whether or not we're living a righteous enough life to get into heaven. Our institutions are purposefully engineered to cause us to create a lot of dark mojo through anxious energy. Just being off the path of our purpose as human beings, that causes a baseline anxiety in us. Just being off the path of your purpose. Our purpose is that important. We always feel like something's missing. We always feel incomplete. That feeling of incompletion can cause anxiety in a lot of us. And I think the further you get from your path, the more that anxiety is felt. The second thing the universe showed me about my anxiety was that I had complete control over it. It only existed in my domain. Therefore, I had complete control over it. I am the master of my domain. My anxiety only existed in the reality I've created for myself. Okay, that's the only place where my anxiety existed. And the universe told me that I had the power to reprogram the programming of my reality to make that anxiety go away. And just as easily as I create the anxiety, I can erase it. I have full domain over it. It is a monster of my own creation, and I have full control over the programming my experience runs on. That is one of the first things the universe showed me, not only about anxiety, but about my experience in general, is we have full control over the programming we run on. Our conscious physical experience runs off of programming, base programming, and it's amendable and overridable, and we can change it. And we can recode where necessary when we've got issues. Now, I gotta be honest, initially I wasn't happy with the universe's interpretation of things. I didn't like being told that my anxiety was all in my head. I didn't like that at all. This monster had completely taken over my life, and the universe is telling me that it's my fault. I created it. I didn't like that at all. I'll be honest. But it's true, man. Anxiety isn't some abstract condition. It has a beginning. It has an origin. And you got to just nail that down. And it's good that it only exists in our experiences, because then we do have domain over it. It took me a minute to kind of come around on that and to be happy that I had control over it. We've long lost our understanding of how much control we have over our experience. The third thing the universe shared with me about my anxiety was a little bit of an analogy that really kind of let things sink home to me, and I kind of needed this extra level of clarification for me to understand just how silly anxiety is. And the universe shared with me that my anxiety was like paying for a debt that may never come. And it asked me, would you start making payments on a car that you weren't sure that you wanted to buy? Would you just start sending payments in on all these cars? And I was like, no, why would I? That's crazy. I wouldn't do that. It told me that's the same thing you're doing with this anxiety. You're prepaying for a bunch of debts that may never come. And it was right, because thinking back, everything I was anxious about, what is anxiety? Anxiety is worrying about the future. Are we going to have enough money? Are we going to be healthy? Is this going to happen? Is the roof going to hold out? Is this? Is this? It's worry, worry, worry. Future, future, future. What's going to happen? Am I going to be okay? Are we going to be okay? That's all anxiety is. And when you boil it down, none of that shit might happen. None of it. But yet you've prepaid with all this anxious energy. You've prepaid the terrible feeling that you would feel if you experience whatever that is. You've already paid it, and it might not ever come. Let's go back to my dog analogy with my dog Bo. Every time we were together, I was anxious about him dying someday. It's going to happen. He's going to die. I wonder what's going to happen. Is he going to get hit by a car? Is it going to be heartworms? Or what is it going to be? And I worried about that every time we were together, how he was going to die and how terrible it was going to be. Well, as it turns out, the dog ran off before it died. Just took off one day. I think to go die, honestly, but it just took off. And that's where our story ends. I have no idea what happened to Bo. Looked for him everywhere, couldn't find him. But he was getting old, so I think he went off to die somewhere. But as far as I know, he's still alive. He's out there living the best life a senior dog can live. I can live with that in my spirit if I need to. I don't need to now, because obviously I'm okay with the fact that, that happens in life and I can handle that. But if I couldn't and I needed to hold on to the fact that he's still alive, I could believe that he's still alive out there somewhere, because this horrible experience that I had already paid the debt for never came to pass. So what did I waste all that energy on? That's my question. That's kind of like the universe saying, hey, have some faith that I will intercede in your life in such a way that whatever it is isn't going to happen. And we'll talk about here in just a minute how we can improve our chances of that being so. It's hard to say you have faith when you're anxious, because really anxiety only exists in the absence of faith that the universe can intercede, or that you have the skills, talents, and resources and abilities to overcome whatever it is. Have faith in yourself. And have faith that the universe can lubricate whatever it is in such a way that you won't have to experience that horrible event, whatever it is that you're anxious about. Just like it did with me and my dog Bo, because, at that time in my life, I probably would have struggled big time if I watched him, befall some horrible fate or die in some horrible manner. That would have affected me psychologically in ways that would have been very detrimental to me at that time in my life. I was already struggling really hard. And so the universe just made it so the dog took off one day and I never had to experience it. So have a little faith. You never know what sort of events are going to transpire to help you get through that. Now, on the same note, the fourth and final thing the universe told me about anxiety right away was this. You get what you give. Okay? That law of attraction thing is real. And the more you learn about how to hijack that law of attraction, the more prosperity that you will experience in your life. And one of the big things about the law of attraction is the energy you put out is the energy you're going to get back. So if you're sending out into the ether chaotic, crazy, anxious energy, you're more likely to get that sort of result in return, a chaotic, anxious, crazy result, as opposed to receiving the lubrication that you are intended to receive. You're going to get back what you give out. So if you give out anxious, you're going to get back anxious and chaos. It's also important to note that anxiety is a tool used by Dark Mojo. Think about that first and foremost when you begin to feel anxious. Why is Dark Mojo trying to hijack my experience right now? Because you've got a purpose and it's trying to throw you off of it. Dark Mojo loves anxiety. It creates a ton of dark mojo. Like I already said, when we're anxious, we're spinning negative. It loves that. It loves to feed the colossals with your anxious energy. And it also loves it because it throws us off the path of our purpose. It's hard to vibe high enough to discover and follow your purpose when you're anxious and you're worried about the future. And Dark Mojo knows that, and it likes to use anxiety to prevent us from discovering and following our purpose. So that's another reason why it likes it. That's why we've got to do our part and do everything we can to overcome the anxiety that's trying to drag us down in our lives. Are you tired of getting kicked around by life? Is your experience getting harder instead of easier to navigate? Fight back and master your life with the Spin Positive Master Series, a 6-volume book series leading you into your highest being. I call it the Martial Art for Life Mastery, available now at spinpositive.com. Each volume reveals another level of powerful wisdom called Core Enlightenment. It makes up the foundation of the Spin Positive Master Series. This wisdom guides you step by step to achieve your highest purpose. Begin your self-help revolution for life mastery today with the Spin Positive Master Series. Become the next Blue Level Master as you unlock your power with Volume 1, The Universe's Guide to Mastering Your Power. It's perfect guidance to become the powerful person you were intended to be. Available now at spinpositive.com. Get your copy today at spinpositive.com. It is now time for Mike's 10-step battle plan to conquer anxiety. Okay, so as I went through my revolution, I took a bunch of notes, and at the end of all of that, I was able to take all the notes on anxiety and distill them down into 10 distinct steps. And these are the things that you have to do to completely conquer anxiety in your life, to send it packing for good. Now, the first 3 steps, those are an immediate action plan to stop a panic attack in its tracks and to stop the anxiety episode. And then the remaining 7 are all long-term maintenance steps on how we prevent anxiety in our life for good, and how we create the environment in our lives to where anxiety cannot survive. Okay, so the first 3 steps are all about stopping a panic attack in action. And step 1, the first thing that you have to do to stop a panic attack in action is believe in yourself. Believe you have the power to stop what is happening, and believe you have the power within your own being to conquer the anxiety that's dragging you down. That is a very important step. With everything we do, whether it's through this program or through the Master Series, the first step is you have to believe in your power to do whatever it is. And some of the things that we do throughout the Master Series, they seem incredible. Like you wouldn't think you have the power to pull something like that off. But if you go into the situation thinking that, you won't. But if you go into the situation with a positive mindset and knowing that you are a powerful person, the limits of your power will surprise you. I have no doubt about that. But you have to believe in your power before you can begin to manifest it. A big part of manifestation, whether it's your power or anything else, is believing that that manifestation is possible and visualizing that manifestation come to pass. And when you begin to do that, you begin to build that reality using your power. So step 1, believe you have the power. And then the next thing you have to do, step 2 to stopping a panic attack in action, is bring yourself back to the present moment. That is very important. What is anxiety? Anxiety is worrying about something that's going to happen in the future. A big part of depression is lamenting on things that have happened in the past. Anxiety is the opposite. It is worry about what's going to happen in the future. We've got to get out of the future for a minute and put ourselves back in the present moment. How do you do this? Very simply, clear your mind of everything. Wipe the slate clean, go completely black, and focus only on the very next thing you have to accomplish. And there are 2 exercises you can perform at this point. The choice is up to you. Try one. If it doesn't work, try the other. A lot of people like the first exercise the best, and that is where you engage in a grounding experience to put you back in the present moment. And to do this very simply, you begin to think about things using your senses. The first step, name 5 things you can see. Look around. What can you see? Name those 5 things. That's the first step. The next step is 4 things you can feel. Use your sensory input. What are 4 things you're feeling right now? 3 things you can hear. Listen closely to your environment and tune in. What do you hear going on around you? 2 things you can smell. What do you smell? What odors and aromas are near you? 1 thing you can taste. What are you tasting? Ground yourself in your senses. A lot of people like using that method. That works for them to break them from the future and to bring them back into the present moment. Other people like exercise number 2. They like to use a breathing exercise. I actually have better success with the breathing exercise myself. And this is where you focus intently on your breathing. You do a special breathing rhythm and you focus on that rhythm. You tune everything else out. And the only thing you focus on is your breathing. That works for me to ground me back in the present moment. And I like to use an exercise I call the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. And that is where I inhale deeply for 4 seconds. Very deeply for 4 seconds, and then I hold that breath for 7 seconds, and after counting to 7, I release it slowly for 8, and then the entire time I'm doing that, I'm focused on counting my breath. I'm breathing in for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm holding that for 7 and counting for 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then slowly breathing out, taking twice as long to exhale as I took to inhale. And I count to 8 as I do. And that is the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. And that works for me to bring me back to the present moment. That's a very powerful exercise. And that's one that many people find successful in breaking that panic attack. And you just keep repeating that breath as long as you have to until you break that process, until you break that program, until you're back in the present moment. Do it for however long you have to. And once you are firmly grounded back in the moment, then you need to reframe those negative thoughts that you are having and turn them positive. You have the power to do that. Change all I can'ts to I can, all I won'ts to I wills, change all fears to hopes. Do that in your mind. Do that. You have the power in your experience to reframe any thought. Take whatever you're worried about and turn it into something positive. I'm worried that I won't have this. Be thankful. Instead of worrying about what you won't have, be thankful for what you do have. Transmute that energy into positive. Anything negative, transmute it to positive. If it's a fear, think of something you're excited about and happy about. Change your thought process from negative to positive. You have that power to transmute that energy. And after you've done that, you will have quashed that panic attack in the moment, and you will have lessened your anxiety in the moment, and you can get on with your life. Okay, and then the next 7 steps are all about creating a lifestyle to where anxiety cannot thrive, it can't survive. And the next step, step 4, very important, to overcome anxiety long term, you have to treat any underlying physical issues that are contributing to your anxiety. And there are numerous physical things that can be going wrong that cause us to be anxious in our life. For me, I had a couple of different things going on. I had a nutrient deficiency. I was deficient in magnesium. Magnesium is one of those important elements that is important to keep our nervous system firing properly. And so I was deficient in that, and that was creating an environment where anxiety could thrive, let me tell you. And then also, I had some GI issues. I had a gluten sensitivity that was causing some damage to my GI tract. And the damage was so severe that I didn't have the I didn't have the microbes, I guess, in my gut biome to create the serotonin that I needed. I was deficient in my neurotransmitters, and it was all because of my gut health was off. Yeah, that's an important thing. Your gut health is huge for depression and anxiety. A lot of people find great relief from symptoms from those conditions when they get their gut health in line, and mine was way out of whack. I had to get off of gluten for a while and then start taking the right probiotics and things to build the correct biodome, I guess. What do you call that? Whatever, biosphere in my gut biome to create the serotonin I needed. Your serotonin is created in your gut. If you didn't know that, now you do. I didn't know that before. The universe revealed that to me, that I was deficient in serotonin because of my gut health. And once I got my serotonin ironed out, My anxiety, of course, was much easier to control. See a doctor if you have to. Make sure that you don't have a nutrient deficiency or something going on somewhere in one of your physical systems that is contributing to your anxiety. That's very important. It's also important to make your serotonin system as healthy as possible. And there is a lot that goes into your serotonin system. It's a very complex system and responsible for a lot of things. It's so complex that I'm actually going to do an entire whole other episode on making your serotonin system as healthy as possible. So you'll definitely want to tune in for that. Okay, step 5. Do everything in your physical power and your spiritual power and your energetic power. Do everything in your combined powers to prevent whatever you're anxious about from happening or to bring about the outcome you want to see. Do everything in your power. Because that's very important. In order to receive lubrication from the universe, we've got to get the ball to the 5-yard line. We got to do everything we can in our power to bring about the outcome we want to see. We can't just lay back and do nothing and go, I can't do shit. Hell, do it all for me. You got to do everything you can. Get the ball to the 5-yard line and create the environment for the universe to carry it over to the goal. That's what we got to do. And maybe you can only get the ball to the opposing 5-yard line. That's okay. Do everything you can to bring about the outcome you want to see. Set the environment up for the universe to come in and lubricate that. But in order for that to happen, we've got to do everything in our power. Okay, step 6, set all appropriate intentions to bring about the outcome you want to see. We talk about intentions a lot in Volume 1 of the Master Series. They are basically spiritual contracts. Be sure to set the appropriate intentions for the universe to lubricate the experience and to protect against the negative outcomes. Set those intentions. The number one thing you can do every day is set your daily intentions. Very powerful intentions that I have available on spinpositive.com. On the media tab under Revolution Resources, there are your daily intentions. I set those every morning. And in doing so, I create an environment of protection and an environment of lubrication every day. And in setting those intentions, it opens the door for the universe to intercede in my life in amazing ways. And by doing it early in the morning, I'm covered all day with the protective power and the lubricating power that the universe brings into my experience. So I suggest you go ahead and hop on over there. I have a downloadable PDF, free of charge, man. You can download that free, make that available right by your bed for the morning when you wake up. Say those intentions every morning, and you'll have that power. They're not going to be free forever. You know, at some point, I'm going to have to get investors involved in this Spin Positive thing. I got big plans, and I just don't see any way of getting the revenue that I need for my plans in time to make them happen while I'm still alive if I don't bring investors in. So at some point, I'm going to have to go the investor route, and I won't be able to give anything away at that point. So get them while you can. Get the book while you can, because the book could go up in price big time if that does become an eventuality. So get your books now. I'm going to try to prevent that for as long as I can, but I do have big plans, and I got to get them moving. So, get those while you can. They're free right now. And then intend for universal lubrication for your specific event, whatever it is that you want to see happen or whatever you need to have happen in your life. Intend that the universe intercede. Be very specific with those intentions. Spell out as specifically as you can how you need the universe to intercede in your life. And set those intentions every day as often as you can. Begin your intention statement with the words, I intend. That perks up the spiritual dimension to listen to you. It tells the spiritual dimension that you've got something important to say and to pay attention. And then you state your statement, whatever it is that you need help with. Follow up with the words, so be it. That is the stamp of your spiritual sovereignty. That's telling the spiritual dimension that you have the spiritual power to make happen what you've just asked to have happen. And they're going to read that stamp of spiritual sovereignty and go, yep, he's legit. Let's take this off and let's get this working. And then they're going to make sure that your intentions get to the right energies to make it happen. That's how it works in a nutshell. I explain it in greater detail in Volume 1, but that's essentially what happens. It's a spiritual contract. By saying, so be it, you do promise to do something. You do promise to follow the golden rule. We'll talk about that in another episode, but that is your end of the bargain for this contract, just so you're aware. And if you want to have your intentions come to pass, you have to follow the golden rule. as close as possible. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. So set the intentions. Follow that up with step 7. Meditate for guidance. You're going to intend for things to happen. A big part of that might be receiving wisdom from the universe. Maybe the universe has something to share with you to help you in your situation. It's going to share that through meditation. You'll receive those big downloads of enlightenment through meditation. So be sure to meditate for guidance. Listen to the spiritual dimension and spend time in the meditative arena so that those benefits can be poured out to you. If you don't meditate for guidance, you're going to miss something. So set the intentions and then meditate so that you get any guidance you need. That's very important. And then another big part of that is follow any guidance you're given. Guys, big one. I can't tell you how many times people are given guidance and they don't heed it. Why? Because often the guidance tells them to do something they don't want to do. Guilty. You got to do that too, man. So be sure to follow the guidance, even if you don't want to do it or you're like, oh, I don't really want to do that right now. Do it because that's what you got to do to make it happen. And if the universe is giving you guidance about something in your life, if you've been given a step that you got to do, and I'm talking away from what we're talking about now, if you know the universe is prompting you to do something, do it. If you've got that in your spirit, do it. Get it done, because every day you wait to act on what you've been prompted to do is a day wasted. Nothing's going to happen for you. That's the next thing you've got to do to unlock the next level of your video game. Don't waste any days in between. I wasted a bunch. Few, more than I should have. Going, I don't want to do that right now. I want to do that later. You can't put it off. Nothing's going to happen. You can't work around it. You can't go around that barricade and head on down the road. You got to fix whatever is going on for that barricade to be there. Get that barricade out of the way, then move on. And then also, as you meditate, you're going to ground any anxious energy that you've accumulated in your Mojoe cloud up to that point. That's a big part of stellar circulation, and meditation is the most powerful form of stellar circulation. We ground all the dark mojo in our Mojoe cloud. Anxious energy builds up as dark mojo in our Mojoe cloud. So by meditating, we're going to ground all that. We're going to feel a lot freer and more peaceful after the experience. And hopefully we'll receive the guidance we need to fix the problem so that dark mojo doesn't accumulate again in our Mojoe cloud. Okay, and then step 8, follow the golden rule as closely as possible. You're going to receive more of all of your spiritual benefits, and lubrication being one of those, and the universe interceding in our life being one of those. You're going to receive more of those the closer you follow the golden rule, which is such an important thing. We're going to spend a whole nother episode talking specifically about the golden rule. There's a lot of parts to it. It's really simple, though, on the surface. Very simply, the golden rule is treat all living things with love and respect. We talk about the golden rule in great detail in volume 1. That's the gist of it. Got to be nice. And the nicer you are to all living things, the more the universe will pour out blessings into your life. That's what it boils down to. And again, I'm going to spend an entire episode on the golden rule because it is an important topic. And there are many facets to it. One of the next few episodes will be specifically on the golden rule, so stay tuned. You're going to want to hear that one. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. Okay, step 9, keep your vibration level as high as possible. Very important. The higher we're vibing, the more powerful we are. The more powerful we are, the more power we have to overcome the things that are making us anxious. So keep your vibration level as high as possible. This program is a great way to do that. We can give you all kinds of tips, tricks, and hacks to boost your vibration level as you go through your experience. So you'll want to stay tuned to every episode here for sure. And then take that also a step further with the Spend Positive Master Series, where we actually build a master plan as we go through. It is the martial art for life mastery. And as you go through the levels, you build a master plan for your life, which becomes a lifestyle and the framework for your life that is a healthy, happy, and purpose-driven framework. And one of the big things we do is we learn how to boost our vibration level as high as possible to achieve our zenith being. We take everything we learn here in Vibe and High to the next level in the Master Series, and we master our understanding of whatever that is. There's always more to unpack, and we unpack it in the Master Series. And in doing so, we build a lifestyle where we are impervious to dark mojo. Okay, and then the 10th and final step to our battle plan to conquer anxiety is to have the absolute best relationship with our higher power we can have. We want to have the most powerful relationship with the universe that we can possibly muster. And it's such an important relationship that I'm going to spend a whole nother episode talking about it. In fact, the very next episode is going to be all about how you can have the most powerful relationship with your higher power that you can have. And that is the most important relationship in your life. And we're talking a spiritual relationship. This has nothing to do with religion. This is all about using your spirituality and having a spiritual relationship with the universe, which is way different than having a religious relationship. We're going to unpack all of that in the very next episode, and I'm going to tell you step by step how to have the same type of relationship with your higher power that I have with mine. And I'm telling you, it's amazing. My life is way better now that I have the guidance that I have from my higher power, and I want you to enjoy that as well. So tune into the next episode, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode and the ones to follow. We're going to talk about a lot of really cool stuff here in the next few episodes. I got some really cool stuff lined up. That's my 10-step battle plan to conquer anxiety. Use these steps to get ahead of and a handle on the anxiety dragging you down. Anxiety is a terrible prison to live in. I lived in that prison for years of my life, and if I can help you overcome that, even a little bit, then I'm happy to do so. Use these steps. Use your power. You're a powerful person. You are a powerful being. Use that power. And certainly lean on your relationship with the universe to help you through whatever it is you're going through. The universe wants to help you. As you meditate for guidance, leave that anxiety with the universe. Say, look, I don't know what to do. I need you to help me. I'm leaving this with you. I can't deal with it no more. Boom. And then leave it be. And you will get that guidance that you need to take the next steps to be successful on whatever path it is you're on. And always remember that you have complete power over anxiety. It only exists in your domain. It's a creation of your own making. And just as easily as you've created it, you can get rid of it. Always remember that. That's an important part of your power. And also remember that the universe is happy to help you. It wants to get involved in your life. It wants to help you through whatever it is that you're going through. All you have to do is ask for it to help you. Spell out to it what kind of help you need, because it can't read your mind. It's not that kind of an energy. Tell it exactly what you need. Be specific and explicit in your instructions and watch as it leaps into action to help you. And there's no crazy strings attached, no crazy rules you got to follow. All you got to do is follow the golden rule. That's it. That's the only rule you got to know. Period. That's it. Be nice. Treat all living things with love and respect. That's all you got to do. The rest of it, send it down the river. Don't need it. And the closer you follow the golden rule, the more blessings the universe will pour into your life, the more happiness you'll experience, the more power you will experience. And it never costs you any money. It doesn't cost you a dime. The universe doesn't want your money. You don't have to give away 10% of whatever to receive its help. If you feel like giving away 10%, give it to me. I got big plans. I'm going to use it for good shit. You're not going to go to heaven for giving me money. I'm sorry. That's not a real thing. So you can always give me the money. I promise to use it for good things. I got big, awesome, positive plans for humanity. And of course, everything takes money. There's never enough. And it gets less valuable every day. Let's not forget. Doesn't cost you a dime. The universe doesn't want your money. So anyway, stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for more information on how to have that powerful relationship and how to keep your vibration level booming in a time when it's under attack, let me tell you. I think that's about it for this episode. I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about. I shared my 10 steps, my 10-step battle plan to conquer anxiety. I hope you put it to play in your life, and I hope you kick the shit out of the anxiety and the dark mojo dragging you down. I really do. I intend that for you, so be it. You can keep the party going with me away from here over on social media. You can find me just about everywhere at Spin Positive Revolution. And you can always discover more about the core enlightenment and what we're up to at Spin Positive over at spinpositive.com. And you can also learn how the Master Series can help you. And you can also get your volume of Volume 1. Get them while you still can. These books will not be available forever, I'll tell you. It won't be. The Volume 1, Mastering Your Power, that's the one thing that the incoming administration doesn't want you to find. They do not want you to find your power and discover your power. So get it while you can before I'm in a camp at spinpositive.com. Thanks for checking this out. Until next time, stay safe out there and keep vibing high.